circling back to your question that at times of struggles, do you ever feel like quitting? I think entrepreneurship is kind of like parenthood, right? In business terms, it's parenthood in business terms because your company is your brainchild, right? You need to really foster it that way. And fostering that way brings in a lot of maturity, a lot of commitment, a lot of responsibility and accountability. That if I'm starting something, I will, when you're raising a child, you will have struggles, but you don't just abandon the child, right?
What's up, my guy? Firstly, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know you're a very busy guy. Lovely office.
Thank you. It's been in the works for a while.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know your story. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to actually sit down and have a longer conversation with you. 18 months into the business or more, you guys have been killing the whole space, which is, the space is new and you guys are new, of course. This office itself speaks for how well you've been doing. I wish I could just do like a B-roll of what the office looks like. Maybe in another vlog day, or maybe when we do another one with Apoorv, right? The reason I also wanted to do a separate conversation is because last time when we spoke, I realized how each of you have a different story to offer. Getting to the bottom of it before we sort of highlight everything that's happening here, everything in terms of you guys taking over the whole influencer marketing space, representing some of the biggest creators in the space right now. I want to know, how did you begin your career? Initially, I think the last time we met, we were discussing briefly how it all started as you working as a marketing manager with a telecom company or something on those lines. So let's get to the bottom of that.
Bro, I mean, I started working pretty late. The first few years were just, the formative years were just education. I paid a lot of heed to education. I wanted to set the foundation right in whatever I wanted to do later on in my career. So there was a lot of attention paid to education very early on. I started working about, I think at 23 was the first job I ever took up.
Oh, wow.
And that's the job, the marketing manager job that I took up. And my only intention with doing that job was also not thinking of it as very long term. It was to get the right understanding of how things work in a company, in an organization. And the organization that I was a part of was a large scale organization, right? So for the first, I think, 3 years that I used to come to Mumbai, I came here with no agenda. I came here just to meet people.
So you're not from Bombay, right?
No, I'm from Bangalore.
Okay, that's where your first job was?
Yeah, Bangalore.
Oh.
I born and raised in Bangalore. I went to London for my masters, and then I came back to Bangalore, did the first job, the stint that I had, and right about, I think I did that for about 8 to 10 months, and right after that is when this came along.
Yeah, so I was talking to Apoorv about this, and he mentioned how initially when he started the company, right, I think through the few months after a few months of him doing it, that's when you came into the picture and you all started signing more creators and then growing the company from there. But right before that, how did this idea that, okay, influencer marketing is a thing? Okay, you coming from a marketing background, I understand that this is something you would want to pursue. But like I said, this is an industry that's in a very nascent stage, even after so many years. At that point in time, to even coin the term influencer marketing would have been only a handful of people knowing about it.
100%.
So how do you
I
think?
had the hardest time explaining to my parents what I'm moving to Mumbai for, why I'm quitting a full-time job that was doing me well, and why I'm moving to an alien city doing something they've never heard of. Because 2018 is when we started, again, like I said, so I had a bunch of friends who were creators very early on, right? And we were always hanging out, and they always put forward the problems they were facing on an everyday basis, like shoot पे videographer time पे नहीं आया, edit सही से नहीं हो रहा, payments time पे नहीं आ रहे, there's no follow up, there's no back and forth with the brands. And that's when it just struck us that, you know, why not have an umbrella, a holistic infrastructure that caters to the end-to-end needs of a creator. And that's essentially where the idea of the company came from. And Apoorv was doing it with, I think, a handful of creators, with 3-4 creators, where you're, again, the same group of friends that we had.
Yeah.
And that's when we had a discussion, Apoorv and I, and there's another person who got us together, and we had a mutual discussion where we're like, how can we do it at scale? How can we just not be personal managers to people, but have an agency that manages these people.
So this came out of a very need to solve a problem.
100%. 100%. These are, it didn't, because there was no, like you said, influencer marketing was so nascent back then that no one really thought of it as a full-time career option. And being an influencer is a different side. Being a manager to an influencer was unheard, at least then. And so, that's where we started off, and we like, okay, what are the problems that these guys are facing on an everyday basis? How can we solve them? Can we solve them, and how can we solve them? And that's where, we started incubating a lot of verticals in our company. Start getting that, okay, fine, we'll have production in-house, we'll have content strategists in-house and stuff like that. And then it just started from there, it snowballed from there. When we started off the first 6 months, it was just Apurva and I. We didn't have a team, we didn't have an office, we were working out of the Starbucks right here.
Oh, wow.
For the first 6 months, we had all the influencer meetings, all the influencers we ever spoke to was at Starbucks, right? But I mean that after 6 months is when we realized, okay, this is something that can snowball into something that's so big that we could leave everything else aside. We can focus on this all full time. And I mean, that's why it started.
So 6 months of working through Starbucks, you all saving up enough capital to move into an office. I guess this is the second office you all have had, right?
Right.
I've not had the chance to come to the first one.
The first office, the entire size was this.
Oh, literally? Oh, wow.
A little bigger than this, but just so much.
Yeah.
And we thought that was great back then.
What's the square footage of the space?
This is about 1700.
1700 of square footage. I love your office. As I said, great conference room, great setting. You all have designed every inch of it by yourselves, right?
Yes, we did.
So
we were very particular. So, I mean, we put a lot of love in everything we do, right from the start, right? When it was just the two of us working for the company, we put a lot of love in everything. We were there at every shoot. We were there talking to every person who was slightly even associated to this industry. So the same was with the office. That very early, we were like, once the first office, like I said, was a miniature
Tiny
office.
box.
And once we were like, okay, now we need to really, after COVID, we were like, okay, now we need to have something that makes sense to us. And the love that we put into our work is what we want to translate into the office space.
So that's a very interesting point of view to look at because in the last 2 years, I guess a lot of people have gotten comfortable with working from home, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest companies in the world, like an Amazon, is planning to move fully offline. I feel at some level it's going to hamper productivity because me, again, running a boutique marketing agency, I know for a fact how easier it would be for me to plan and ideate stuff for our clients if I had the team around me. Just because the playfulness, the conversations you have, the quality of conversations are very different. Right now, if I'm on a Google Meet, I don't know how many people from the people who are involved in the call are actually paying attention.
Yeah.
And what is the environment like? Like right now, we're sitting here comfortably dressed up and have the very different conversation as opposed to sitting at home in our boxers, wearing a t-shirt in front of a camera, right?
Yeah,
That aloofness is there.
Correct.
So I feel like at some level a physical space is required.
Yeah.
But obviously that comes with a lot of effort. So talking about that, how were the early few months of your business? Obviously finding the problems and catering to your clients, which is creators in this in this case, was easier. Finding the solution is one thing, but navigating through brand clients, getting deals on board, and there's just so much of it, right?
Yeah.
How did you end up structuring and having, like, let's say, an SOP for every process?
It was a struggle, honestly, very early on, because there was no set rules for this
No
industry.
case study.
Exactly. We had to wake up every day and think of how do we do things differently? How do we overcome the obstacles that are coming our way in a way which is not done before, right? Because this industry was so new. And I mean, the first few months, again, it was difficult, but we were working with people that I've known for years. All the creators the first 7 creators we signed on board were my best friends. Like all 7 of them are friends.
Can you name some of them?
Radhika Seth, Meghna Kaur, Shivani Singh, all of these guys. Like, people I've known for years before that.
Yeah.
So we got kind of a head start when we started the company as well, because we didn't have to poach the creators. For every other agency would have had that problem. For us, it was way simple because they had the faith in us. They knew us from years. So for us, it was just a conversation where we told them, listen, we know all the problems you face on an everyday basis. These are the solutions that we propose to have. Would you be up for it? And they were all jolly about it. They were all very inclined towards being a part of it. So that made it a lot simpler early on. But I mean, still getting them on board is one part of the role, right? The executing the campaign, stuff like that. It was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of sitting up one
And
night, just sitting and
I can't even imagine like going from again a roster of 7 clients or 7 friends who you're treating as creator to now you have approximately 40 creators
Plus, yeah.
40 plus creators on board.
yeah.
I'm sure at some level there's a personal touch involved in each of those relationships, right? I have absolutely no idea. So talent manager is something again I've not done personally. I've been involved in a content side of things for talent.
Yeah.
It is beyond me how something that stems out of personal relationships is maintained when you increase in volume. Like when you have 40, 50, 60 clients.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like at some point, each of them would want to call you and talk to you.
But
because
that's the kind of value we instill in every team member as well.
Okay.
That it's not just us. It's not just us who are the company. It's you guys now, right? The entire team. All our creators interact a lot more with the team than they do with us now, right? Because those are the people working every day with them. As we try to build such relationships between the creator and the managers as well, that you guys should feel like a part of the same team. You guys are part of a family.
that's
And
a very good perspective to have. I
yeah.
think more and more companies need that, right?
We've been doing so many activities in office just
Yeah,
to
I
make
keep
it
seeing your
fun. We do
stories.
every Saturday, like Saturdays are for activities, bowling, go-karting, the entire team going together. The smallest things, which I was surprised again that not a lot of people are doing, is what we give. We give menstrual leaves to every female employee
Wow.
every month. Right, I'm surprised not a lot of people are doing it. I mean, these are the small things that we put into place to make sure the team feels a part of a larger picture. It's not just a job.
I want to know how is your business structured in terms of your whole team? How does the process of delegation work? Because again, the reason I want you to speak about it because, like I said, there's no case study as such by influencer
Right.
management companies. I think more and more people need to understand if I am. Firstly, obviously, there's no barrier to entry in our business. You know that marketing as a whole, anybody can start an agency if they are to do it efficiently or they are to do it professionally. Then I think there needs to be more and more access to conversations from people like you to understand how would I shape or how would I model my business. So just like a breakdown of how your team structured, who does what, and so on.
So yeah, the hierarchy is such that at the bottom we have interns, like everyone. We have above that we have talent managers. Every talent manager has a dedicated set of creators that they manage. It's about 3-4 creators every manager. Apart from that, we have an in-house team of videographers, photographers, graphic designers, editors, the entire production unit, that's separate. We have content strategists who, apart from the managers, just design the way the content of the creator should be. The meetings that we have with the creators, that which direction should you move in now? That this is the trend, what's happening, because this industry is ever evolving. There's so much happening every single day. Just someone to keep a track of what needs to be done at when. So there's content strategists in place for that. So yeah, I mean, this is the base structure of it. Apart from that, that's the higher management. That's the sales team,
So
the business
in
development.
terms of the general talent managers and creative personnel like content managers, how do you divide bandwidth? Like let's say if I'm a talent manager, I have 3 creators I'm dealing with. There's I don't know how many content strategists would be in the team. How like because one of the main reasons I want to understand this is like in music, right? Again, that's a background for my business. We worked extensively in music. I've realized initially I thought if it's a certain account manager dealing with music clients,
Yeah.
he's going to be able to deal with everything. But I realized how taste and the kind of genres you listen to, everything matters, right? The details. So even similarly in creators, right? Let's say from what I understand, again an external point of view, creators can be divided into what is the kind of audience they're catering to,
Right.
right? So obviously at some level, a content strategist advising your creator on the kind of content to create needs to have that taste.
Understanding, yeah.
Like if this creator is meant to cater to a niche audience or he's catering to a massier audience, is it more international? What is the language? how do you bifurcate in that, and like how does a talent manager know which content strategist is right for this specific campaign?
The content strategist position is a much broader position because they're not dedicated content strategists to each creator. It's because our niche has been a lot of fashion, beauty, lifestyle, travel creators. That's been our forte since the start, right?
Okay.
So we have developed all the understanding that needs to be of what the content should be for such a creator. So the content strategist is, like I said, it's a broader term, a broader position for all of these guys.
Got it. Oh yeah, that's a very clear bifurcation depending on who's experienced with what. And talking about that, the biggest challenge must be that generally when someone's applying for a job, it's right. Okay, I have 5 years of experience in this space. That's why you should hire me. But this space itself is not like older than 5 years. How do you make decisions?
The average age of my entire team is about 20 to 23 years old. So it's all, there's a lot of young energy in the office. A lot of people here to prove a point, right?
Absolutely.
So, and this industry really, people who've been on social media and have been active on social media have all the experience they need to do well in this field. There's not a lot more apart from that. They are content strategists. If there's someone who's been following musicians from like say the last 5-6 years, they have a fair idea of what goes down with every musician, right? So experience in that sort just comes with on the go. You just learn. Once you have a client, you learn from there. You put it to use the others. That's it.
I think one of the best things I love about creators, influencers, or whatever you want to call them is once you have a ready audience for something you do, you can dictate your own rules. You can dictate your own life. Like taking the current situation with all these Western influencers as an example. Suddenly, everyone's into combat sports. Everyone's into boxing, and they are legitimately licensed boxers, licensed athletes. There are, I mean, you can do anything as long as you have an audience, right? That's something I personally love about.
The boxing was such an off-tangent thing. Like thinking of creators having beef and actually bringing it to the ring and fighting it out.
Yeah. I'm waiting for it to happen in India.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too.
Unfortunately, combat sports in India is not very licensed. So I'm a very big combat sports person. Like I love. Oh, really? That's cool. I watch a lot of MMA, boxing. Unfortunately, it's not a recognized sport in India. So there's there's too many nitty-gritties to get like in place before this happens. But like imagine like two of the openly beefing creators, like one
just bring it to the ring and bleeding it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's something to watch for sure.
Yeah.
But now steering a little away from influencers, marketing, what they do about you. While you've been building this company, you've moved to another city away from your family, out of your comfort zone. Have you ever had struggles or like you've had, let's say, moments where you've thought that's not something that is maybe my calling or this is not something that's going to work out? I should just quit and go back and have a secure job.
No, I've had plenty of struggles. I've had a lot of struggles, but never once thought that okay, this is it. It's just you live and learn. You face the challenge and you get over it. I've done a job, right? Like I said, so job does bring stability, but for me it brought me stagnancy.
Okay.
Where I thought my growth is so stunted that I can't really. I'm not feeling good about it. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is a lot more volatile, right? It's not stable. But there is, again, boundless scope of growth. That there is no upper limit. You can go how and where you want.
And honestly, you're absolutely right. And honestly, like people say, there is, not people, like society as a whole tries to say, entrepreneurship has a certain risk attached to it. You can always like be defunct at some point in time. But the more I speak to people and the more even as I grow, I realize that as long as you're up to date with your work, like if you're ever evolving as quickly as your industry or as your business is, there is no risk. Because for example, you need a certain amount, X amount to survive in a city like Bombay, right? With the least amount of efforts that you put in your business, will you be able to cover that? And I think the answer is yes. That's like in the case of most of the people I know. So I'm trying to like rack my brains and think, why are people calling it a risky business? Staying at a job for 5 years and not growing, that's risky business.
See, it's a calculated risk. I can understand why entrepreneurship is risky. COVID has taught a lot of things, right? That not our industry, fortunately, but a lot of other industries that have where entrepreneurs have really fizzled out because of the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
It is a calculated risk. You need to know what's coming your way and you need to be prepared for it. For me, how I understand it is, I mean, again, circling back to your question that at times of struggles, do you ever feel like quitting? I think entrepreneurship is kind of like parenthood, right? In business terms, it's parenthood in business terms because your company is your brainchild, right? You need to really foster it that way. And fostering that way brings in a lot of maturity, a lot of commitment, a lot of responsibility and accountability. That if I'm starting something, I will, when you're raising a child, you will have struggles, but you don't just abandon the child, right?
That's actually a very good outlook to have. I need to instill it in me because I've had literally moments where I think it is so easy to abandon something, but at the end of the day, it's like that's the only thing you know how to do, right?
Yeah.
One of the podcasts I had with a friend, Jay, he keeps telling me like how him as he's doing very well for himself now.
100%.
But he keeps saying that how that's the only thing he knows how to do.
Correct.
Right? So there is no option as such. So
Yeah.
it is like his calling, he has to do it. He cannot abandon
Yeah.
it.
There are
So,
no plan Bs.
there's no plan B. I think that's what works for most people. But it's so, I mean, it's so easy to just like you said, right, fizzle out and be in a way where, okay, this is something I can't get beyond. I'm sure, like, again, in your space, I don't know the kind of challenges you face on a daily basis, except for growth as a whole, yes, in terms of having more verticals in place, having more revenue streams in place, yes.
Yeah.
But every day, right? Like, for example, let's say in terms of a very business development point of view, if there is no industry standard, how do you set your growth in revenue is right or wrong? Like, let's say there's no industry standard. Your industry is new.
Yeah.
So how do you measure from a 6-monthly or a 12-monthly plan of action? This is the revenue I need to get to, or this is where I need to get to.
Bro, it's about how you can justify to yourself that how much growth is good growth. Because in this industry, there are people doing so well that if you're not doing well enough, you will feel stunted. So you need to always be on your tiptoes and just look for what more can I do. I have the resources at my end, right? What's invaluable to us are the resources we have in terms of the people we have, right? Not just the team we have, but the creators and stuff like that. So we are always on the lookout of what more can we do with these guys to offer. See, I think one way to look at it is how we start the business as well is we found some invaluable people and we found ways of how we can offer value to them.
Absolutely. I think that's a very fair point of view. But from again a personal point of view, you're like, for example, you as a person, right? Yes, you are constantly setting goals and have aspirations for your creators to grow. But circling back to about you as an entrepreneur in this business, which is new as a whole, how do you literally? Obviously, you see growth. Growth is there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like, I don't know if you're a very ambitious person in terms of, do you like materialistic things? Do you want a big
100%.
house? Do you want good cars? I don't know. But if you do, how do you have a measure of, like, say, if in 5 years this is where I've reached? How have I done a good job? Have I been slow? Because, like you said, there are bigger organizations, but who've been like doing very well for themselves. But they also come from a very strong background of marketing with, let's say, FMCG brands or whatever, right? So you're, I would say, a startup in this space, if I'm not wrong, compared to the marketing agencies that have, like, let's say, crores and retainers from bigger clients, right?
Yeah.
So how do you actually compare when it comes to making a personal goal setting decision?
Setting personal goals is always, see, when I moved here, like I said, I moved here with absolutely nothing. Going back a little, Apu and I moved here with absolutely nothing. We started the company with 8,000 rupees that we spent on the legal registrations and the formalities and stuff like that. That's all we had. Like I said, we had no office, we had no team, nothing. And those are all our expenses for the first 6 months. I was living off a friend's house where there were 4 or 5 of us in the same house living together, right? So that time I moved here with the point that I need to make a place for myself in the city. It wasn't a monetary goal. It was an aspirational goal of sorts that okay, I need, no one knows me here. So everything I built for me here is my identity. And that is all I had in my mind. So I think that is the only driving force even now. For me, the goal is not having, of course, I want a luxury, I want a great car, I want a great house, I want all of those things. But that's not the end goal. The end goal is being of so much value to people that you're irreplaceable in any way. So, I mean, I can't answer that question in a monetary sense or in a materialistic sense, but I can answer it in an intangible sense that this is the feeling I want to acquire at the end of it.
That's a very good answer. And personally speaking, I know it is challenging running a business in a very competitive space where there's, as I said, no barrier to entry. And you're on a daily, you're a part of a daily rat race, especially being in Bombay where things are so fast moving. I know people who've tried, especially coming from outside of town, I know so many people who've tried to settle here, move, be a part of the business, but they've reached a point of mental saturation and exhaustion and they've decided to move outside. Especially in the pandemic where you have like so many people just buying houses in Goa and moving there. That's the funniest thing ever. But it's person to person. That's one of the main reasons I want to know. I wanted to know that are you a materialistically ambitious person or no? But you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, you can't be involved in something. And more I speak to people, the more I realize that this it's an illusion that you work for a monetary return. Yes, you have to set financial goals. Yes, your business is to make money. Yes, you do business with the thought of having the right value, monetary value created for yourself. But there needs to be a bigger purpose, right? Like why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that's one of the main reasons that will keep on driving everyone. And going forward with everything that you've achieved in the last 2 or 3 years, you're just getting started. That's the funniest thing. Now here we are sitting in your office where everyone knows you guys represent some of the biggest talent in the creator space. And there's like obviously no conversation without Plug Media being involved. Like I go into influencer marketing meetings where Plug Media's name's coming out at least once, right? I was at a meeting with Book My Show last week for something we're pitching to them. And the minute influencer campaign came, they're like, oh yeah, we'll speak to Apurv, this, that, the Plug. So it's always coming out. So I know. And the funny thing is you're just getting started. As a business, where do you see this go in the next few years in terms of what you're doing? Because obviously you are going to keep growing your verticals, but I'm sure at some point you'll reach this point of boredom where what is this new thing I do to excite myself? So
see, I think boredom is not the right word. You do feel stagnancy, if that's the term you can use at any stage.
no, so I don't want to talk about stagnancy. Like yes, like I said, you're going to keep growing, but at a personal level, if you're repeating the same process again and again for the next few years, right? At some point you want to delegate it. So when
100%.
when you have more time in your hand, what do you plan to do?
That's the entire plan. The reason we've gotten the office space and everything is because we want to really build a team to grow and take care of everything that we were doing so far, right? Now that is off our minds, we're constantly on the lookout of what's coming up next. Like say, even you can't get bored because there's so many new creators coming into the field every single day. Every new creator is a new project for us, right? Because that's someone we want to prove something to, right? So every new creator that pops in the market, just every new creator we sign on board is just as exciting as the first one we signed. So that will keep it going. The primary business is that. But along with that, it is also the creator economy is at such a stage that you have the upper hand in every situation, in every business. Because if your marketing vehicle is sorted, a major aspect of every new business is sorted, right?
Absolutely.
So in our field, it's also, we have that vehicle running for us. So what places can we take it to?
Okay, so this is a fresh perspective for me also. So you're saying every creator's journey is like even exciting and new for you.
100%.
No matter what the substance of it, the substance of it is what will be different. The format of it is going to be similar to what you've probably been doing for a while, but everything is a story, right? One of the main things I see happening outside with the creator economy right now is everyone's so focused on building their own IPs. How it's
Correct.
working globally is as an individual, as a creator, I would promote brands and the sheer the sheer motive of a brand paying me is for me to sell their product, right?
Right.
But I've started to realize more and more creators are now focused on building their own brands, which is D2C,
Correct.
building their own IPs. Like let's say
Yeah.
they want to tie up with a television network or like YouTube or whoever, like an OTT platform. They're building their own stuff. Obviously, it comes from a point of view of ownership and some sort of, I would say, creative freedom, because the minute like a larger corporation is involved, it's a marketing machine that's created and you have so many do's and do not, right?
Yeah.
But I still feel like us as a country have not reached that point where the creators have that power. I may be wrong, but not all creators have that power. Yes, the
Not
top
all.
ones with millions, like a Bhuvan Bank, for example. I know he's doing a lot of work right now. I think he did something last week with Hotstar, which is coming out, and he has a lot of ownership of his own copyright.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about creators who have the numbers and who may not have explored long form content specifically, right? Do you think that transition is going to be easy for them to go from like a Instagram short form format to like a larger IP ownership space?
That is definitely not the only channel that they can, the only route they can take. For someone who's comfortable doing the longer format content, they can definitely go that way. But IPs are not just in terms of content anymore. Like it's never been, in fact. But I mean, the creator these days are, like you said, like you mentioned, the D2C outlets and D2C ventures and stuff like that. That is where the real growth is now. Every creator wants to do something where they know the value they offer to brands. There's a reason brands are paying so much money to creators to market for them. Creators have realized that they have that power in their hand and they just want to use it for their own good now. They want to promote, do something on their own. They want to have ownership of the products that they're selling. So the channels are ample now.
It boils down to having a community around yourself.
100%, yeah, and how absolutely how you make sense of that community.
Like I was just talking about the boxing bit, right? You either do that or and you can do a D2C at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I've realized even brands right now that are growing and budding and are doing good in terms of revenue, if that's the measure of how well a brand's doing, right? And D2C, that has to be.
Yeah.
I feel every brand that's doing well right now has some sort of face attached to it. It stems out of a personal brand. Again, this is something very personal, opinionated. I may be wrong, but this is what I'm seeing. And in the middle of that, I see you also do your own D2C brand, which is Drip Project.
Yeah.
To everyone who doesn't know, everyone who's present here, and again talking to the camera, this is going to be a habit now, I guess, since I love the camera apparently. Rohit also runs a D2C brand called Drip Project. So every celebrity, every photo shoot you've been seeing in the last 6 months of a lifestyle or a fashion magazine, the jewelry is probably by Drip Project. From a Kiara Advani to a Guru Randhawa, name it, they've worn your stuff.
Yeah.
How's that process been, and like, do you think that's more of a value proposition for you as opposed to the service business that you're doing with Plug Media?
So I mean, I've been involved with the service industry for a while now, but I've always had inclinations for both service and product. I always wanted to do product in some way or the other, some form or the other. This was a happenstance thing again. Drip. I had a friend who had this idea and wanted the right kind of resources at his end, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it together. So that's how it started. Initially, we were just importing stuff from China, selling it around here. And once the products reached us and we were like, okay, this is good quality. The quality of the products are genuinely great. And this can be white label, and this can be, I mean, using the resources at our end, we can really do something with this. And so we spent a lot of time on the on the R&D of how, what kind of products and from where do we source it and the marketing channels and stuff like that. And then once the products arrived, the new batches that came in, we just sent it out because I had the influencers, like, you know, the network of influencers. We just sent it out to all of them and we got such positive feedback from everyone. And it was a step by step from there. And then we just ventured into Bollywood. We just, right now.
You all have been going ham with that, by the way.
Like I think the first celebrity to wear our jewelry was Ranveer Singh.
Oh, wow.
He wore it for the 83 movie promotions. After that, the next was Karan Johar, right after that. So we're like, okay, wow, if they're liking the jewelry, we have something in our hands. And so we start going that way. And right now, as of now, I think we worked with almost all the Bollywood guys. Varun Dhawan, Vicky Kaushal, Tara Sutaria, Kiara Advani, all of these guys. Dharma, in fact, is buying our jewelry for all the movie shoots now.
Wow, they're buying.
They're
It's
buying
not a
our jewelry.
sourcing
It's not
deal.
sourcing. We sourced it to them. They like the jewelry so much, they've bought a bunch of our
Wow.
product to use for their movies now. Dharma has done this. T-Series used it for a bunch of their songs. Honey Singh and Guru Randhawa did this song just now together. They were wearing all our jewelry. So, I mean, it started from there. But for me, it was a lot about when I wanted to get into the product line, right? For me, it was a lot about learning than earning at this stage. I just wanted to understand how D2C works. And it's been a great learning curve. The last 6 months, in fact, we just picked up seed funding for the DRIP project
Wow,
just last
congratulations.
week. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's,
So I
that's
mean,
pretty
I mean-
huge news. So how are you how are you compartmentalizing your retail business with plug, and how many hours a day do you spend doing each of them?
Yeah, it's not defined. Our industry is such that there are no defined working hours. There are no defined hours you allot to each.
How do you
It goes
prioritize?
parallel. Both are your priorities. Everything you do, to be honest, any form of work you do at any stage and age should be a priority, right? So you just know, there's, and one more thing I realize over time is you have enough time in the world to do everything you want. Not just one or two things, but you take the biggest of names, they're doing 100 different things. It's just the right kind of delegation, the right kind of focus on the work that you need to do, and things get done.
That's pretty interesting. At any point in the day, do you feel stressed out that you're doing too much?
Oh, I get stressed out, I'm doing too less, very honestly.
That's a good
There's so
kind of
much
stress
that
to
we
have.
need to do, there's so much we want to do, so much we have to do. So there's always the stress of what more can we do.
Wow. And what's your general day-to-day like? And one of the main reasons I'm getting into this a lot lately with the kind of people I'm speaking to, I've realized as a creative, there have been points in time where, let's say I have 5 things I want to do, I have overestimated with how much I can get done today. Not in terms of the number of hours I have in hand, in terms of how my brain could work.
Yeah.
Because like I'd wake up, I'd directly get to it. My obviously first choice would be to spend the, let's say, 18 hours a day, or it's like 15 hours a day when we're awake, spend at least like 10 or 12 of those working. But as a creative, you get to a point of mental exhaustion, and beyond that, it's just so difficult, right?
Yeah.
Finally, there's something in the tech space that I want to do.
Right.
I've been speaking to a friend who's been a developer for like over 7, 8 years, 10 years now. He's in the US, and he's been having the same issue. He's doing working at a very, very big company, an MNC, and has a brilliant job, brilliant pay.
Yeah.
He comes home at the end of the day and he's like, I want to do so much, but my mind won't let me. So when you say ki there's obviously you're doing, there's so much more you want to do, right? I'm sure at some point in the day you're like, oh, how do I push myself mentally to do or get through this?
Honestly, and I think fortunately, I haven't had the sense of burning out yet. Because work is so much fun. Everything that we're doing, like I said, we're working with our friends. All our creators are our friends first. So coming to office every day or doing any aspect of the job that we have to do, it's just so much fun that it does not feel like work. That's the kind of culture that we try to imbibe in the company as well. The kind of space that we've made. We've kept that at the back of our head always, that work shouldn't feel like work, not just to us, not to the team. So we've always tried to, keep it very casual, keep it very informal, and that's what helps. Like it never feels like I'm burning out.
But as a contrary point of view, don't you think that also hampers productivity? Like I feel like sometimes when the way you work is a little casual,
Yeah.
there's some productivity getting hampered, and it may not be you yourself,
Yeah.
but there are other people in the organization or other people in your team who I wouldn't say again, may or may not take it for granted, but they are not consciously realizing the value that this specific task has.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a thin line between keeping it casual and making the employees feel like they can take you for granted, right? It's we've tried to always maintain that fine balance, that know that we are here for you. We're here for everything. We're here to ensure your growth, but make work your priority, our absolute priority at this age of your career, at this stage of your career. And for me, I generally think we've streamlined the company in such a way that everyone's doing good work at all times. The minute any employee feels underutilized, it just hampers everything, and that feeling is contagious. So if one person feels underutilized at work, he'll make everyone feel like they're doing too much.
That is so true. That is so true.
They're doing too much.
That's very important, I guess, for anyone to discover. I have absolutely zero complaints about what I do. I love what I do, but there's still times when I think I wish there was like I could imbibe the same mentality into everyone I work with, because every human is different, right?
And it's a process. If you ask me what has been my biggest, our biggest hurdle while growing the company, it's always been getting the right guys, hiring the right guys. It's you need to really, every person that you make a part of your team should be at the same page as you, as with, like, they should know what the mission of what you're doing is, what the vision of the company is, from where we come and where we want to go. They need to understand that, and the day they do that, it does not feel like a hassle anymore. But we've had a lot of, there has been employee turnover over the years where we've hired a lot of guys who we thought, okay, this guy is amazing, and a week into work we realized, okay, we were mistaken, right? So those are mistakes we make on a regular basis. But what boils down from that, what the net result is, are the people who stay are the ones who are here to stay for a long time.
You seem like someone who has a very positive attitude in life, and again, is very good with stress management. Do you meditate? What's your lifestyle like? And do you like work out? I don't know anything about that. More on your personal take.
That is something I need to get to. I haven't been paying, because again, see, moving cities and living in a different city, for the first 2-3 years, I didn't have house help, nothing. I was working, I was going back home doing the dishes and stuff like that. The smaller things that you have to deal with when you're moving to a new city, right? So that's been the process for the last 2-3 years, just settling down. Now that I've settled down, I feel at ease and peace now. Now is the time when I want to shift my focus to a lot of these things. I've been reading a lot about meditation. I never really believed in it, but I think that's what comes with age, is when with maturity is what you realize that people are not stupid. The people who are doing it are not stupid. So I've come to a stage now where I've understood the importance of all of these things. They have a vital role to play in your life. That with so much chaos in your life, you need those moments of peace, just to recollect everything, structure everything in your mind. So I am going to start paying a lot more attention to this. In fact, it's something I was just thinking very recently, that it's time I pick up.
But how do you do how do you do it right now? Like I said, you seem very centered in general. Are you someone who just like wakes up and directly gets to your cell phone and starts like responding to emails, working, etc.? Personally, it doesn't seem like it. As I said, you seem a lot more centered and know that, okay, there's like chaos I need to get to, so let's have moments of calm. What are your moments of calm? Like it may be a hobby.
My moments of calm is my calm, right? I love, like I said, I love my work. It's when I wake up, I am just as excited as I am when the day ends.
Wow.
So for me, it is that. But just circling back, that I know it holds an important place in the long run, because it takes a toll on you if you don't do all these things, which I realize now.
And that's something I can't say. not like I'm someone who like works.
Do you meditate?
I meditate maybe thrice a week.
Yeah. What form of meditation?
So there's Isha Kriya by Sadhguru.
Okay.
So I've tried a bunch of things. I've tried how chanting, how it's done in Nichiren Buddhism. I've tried general mindfulness meditation for Zen.
Yeah.
And I think this is the most approachable one, because there's just literally so many people already doing it, and there is in something else, there's always effort that was required. This seemed the most effortless to me, so I do it and it helps. But unfortunately, like I said, there's so much chaos. It's difficult to just like have that on your mind as soon as you wake up, right? I am someone who just pulls out my phone and there's like so many emails that you have to respond to, and that's hampering my productivity at some level. But I feel the days that I like make a conscious decision ki okay, I wake up, I have a glass of water, I meditate for a bit, that really helps. But again, I am not like a master at it and like not fully aware of it. Obviously, like there's so many details to it, right? There are you'd go crazy if the information that I have I pass on to you in terms of the people I've come across and the kind of stuff they're doing, the kind of impact that meditation really has. Like there are people who had blissful experiences in terms of feeling something deep that is triggering an emotion of happiness, or even like people cry after meditation. Like it's that touching. So I've never been, I wouldn't lie and say I've achieved that level of sanity or that level of mastery at any form of meditation. At some point I want to, but I feel it's something that helps on a very face value level also. You might give it a try. Something I've been wanting to get to fully is working out. That's something I think is a major problem in our space. Because late nights, right? We're always like at parties or at networking events where there's always an after party and there's an after party. So at what
Mumbai
point?
never sleeps.
Yeah, and I thought after the pandemic hit, people are going to calm down. But just like 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday night, I went for an after party and I ended up reaching home at 5:30 a.m.
Wow.
At that, and I'm someone who has like, I have like played sports and like done a lot of stuff during my college and school time. So I know how much I love that. But I feel like that's something that you do in daylight, and I have always like made a choice to do that in the daylight. But now by the time I'm awake, it's already noon, right? On those days specifically when you're out. So how do you like map your whole day is the biggest struggle for everyone. So as you said, I fully agree that is something hopefully both of us can get to. Let's join a gym together and figure that out.
I'm going to take some advice on you from all the terms you use for the meditation that you do.
I'm very deep into it. Trust me. Like I'm very deep into all this abstract stuff. I've consumed so much content around it, and you'd go crazy. There's like actual evidence of your brain being able to heal your medical conditions. And
I've seen those. I've seen videos about that.
Yeah, so I've been like, during the pandemic is when I got deep into it and it blew my mind. I hope someday I can equip myself with that level of brain power. And imagine you can just achieve anything, right?
Yeah.
But circling the whole conversation back to this, right? I personally feel that right now this industry, like when I say industry, the marketing, entertainment, everything's intertwined, right? It's an ever-growing one, and there's more structure being put into place as we speak. I want to know personally, like you are also doing other things on the side, like some things that I aspire to do, like a product brand. What are your other aspirations, or do you have bigger plans with something which is completely away from this? Because it's easier to create, I would say, like Drip Project, right? It is your existing business, which is Plug Media, sort of help your D2C brand.
Right.
And it's all intertwined. Everything at the end of the day is like a larger community that's built, right? Is there something else you're looking at, like maybe start a venture capital for smaller agencies or something? So I don't know. Everyone has their own, right?
There's a lot in the pipeline. See, like I said, I'm always on the lookout of where can I capitalize on the resources I already have, right? I'm always on the lookout for it. So I don't know what it is. That's because, see, I've been doing service for the 3.5 years. Started product 6 months back. I want to give the product a couple of years more. Once that is built is when I go to the next thing. If you're going to do too many things at the same time, you're not going to be able to do any of them well. You need to set the structure. Building the foundation takes time. That's what we did with the Plug for the first year, for the first 2 years. Now there's exponential growth. Once your foundation, your structure is built, then you multiply. You add to a point and then you multiply. So that's the same with, say, Drip right now. We're adding layers to it, levels to it. And then we go wild with it.
It's funny how, like I was telling you about the conversation I had yesterday with someone, again, who has 30 years of experience in the business. The two things, a positive attitude and the calmness, and the third being, three things. The third being patience is what always pays off. And I can see it in you, man. Like, you are pretty patient with what you're doing. There's people like who's always in rush because it's so competitive, right? People are always in a rush.
Yeah.
So patience is something I see a lot in you.
But you need to give that kind of patience to anything that you want to achieve on the scale you want to, because like I said, there's so much chaos going on. There's so many things that you think I can dip my feet in this pool and that pool, I can do this, I can do that. But you just need to know that what is doing well for you, give it enough time, affection and love and care, and it'll pay back.
Wow.
So I mean, that's the goal, that everything, I want to do a lot of things, but I want to do all of them well.
People always look at it from a perfectionist point of view. It's mostly like getting everything right.
Everything
from what
right,
you
yeah.
visualize.
Yeah. I'd see, again, that's something that's very personal. I don't want to attach my name to something that's going to fail. It's a very personal problem I face. I like everyone, everyone's afraid of failures, right? You make mistakes. Failures are different, right? So I will make mistakes. I don't want to fail at the end of the day.
That's pretty good. I think this is a conversation that's never going to end. I feel like, in fact, all the conversations I'm having, I feel like maybe in a year I just have to revisit, because there's so much in the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Especially for you as a startup founder, and obviously killing it in the business you're in. There's so much more that you're going to be able to achieve maybe in the next 6 months. So firstly, thank you for giving me your time today.
It's been a pleasure, man.
I know I've been chasing you and finally you agreed to do this. It's a pleasure having you, this to be your first podcast that you've done, and being the platform where you put your story out. Hopefully we can catch up soon.
I took a while to put the story out also, because I didn't think my story was strong enough that I want to speak it out. Now that we are doing things which I want people to know how is, like you said, the idea of the podcast was people who have no idea, because the industry is so nascent, for them to understand what goes on behind, right? I want to put that out as well now.
Absolutely, and that's a lovely attitude to have, to be able to give information and make it accessible, right? So thank you so much for your time. It was lovely talking to you today.
Bro.
Until next time.